Hello everyone and welcome to one of my newest projects, the SQLpassion Weekly Update. As you know, I've already done in the past a lot on YouTube with my famous SQL Server quickies, where I have talked about a specialized SQL Server topic in a few minutes, and now with the SQLpassion Weekly Update, I want to give you an overview about the most important things which have happened in the 7 days, so in the last week. So I want to talk about things which are relevant to SQL Server, which are relevant to the SQL Server community, like some cool user groups which are happening, and I also want to talk about some personal things what I'm doing in my spare time. So thanks for joining me, and now let's get started with the first episode of my SQLpassion Weekly Update. Okay, so let's start in the first step by talking about a few things which are very important for SQL Server. As you might know, a few days ago, so 6 days ago, Microsoft has released the cumulative update 3 for SQL Server 2022. As you can see in this knowledge base article, this update just contains 9 fixes, so it's not a really huge CU update, but as you can see from the bug references, we have some updates in the area of analysis services, integration services. In memory OLTP, 2 updates in the area of polybase. We have also one update in the area of query execution, really interesting one, and as you can see, there's also an update in the area of replication for the SQL Server agent on Linux, and a few things in the SQL Server engine. So if you're already running on SQL Server 2022, just check out this CU update, because as you have seen, it fixes a few problems within SQL Server. Another very important update that VMware has released is the update 1 for vCenter and ESXi 8.0. So if you have already vCenter or ESXi 8.0 running in your data center, like I'm doing that already a few months in my home lab, it's very recommended to check out the update 1. And as you can see from those release notes, VMware has done here a lot of bug fixing, a lot of different changes. So as you can see when we are scrolling down, those release notes are very large, so just check them out if it contains some things that are relevant for you, and if yes, just download the update 1, test it, and then you can deploy it into production. A lot of my customers which are running on VMware ForceSphere are mostly on VMware ForceSphere 7.0 with some updates, but if you're already on 8.0, it's highly recommended to check out that update. After we have checked out the most important things around SQL Server, I want to talk about a very interesting Data Saturday that happens in September in Berlin in Germany, and it's called Data Moshpit or Moshpit. I have no idea how to pronounce that name correctly, and that Data Saturday is organized by Frank Geisler and Ben Kettner, 2 guys from Germany, and that Data Saturday has a heavy metal theme. So it's very important. Those 2 guys, they are mostly listening heavy metal music. I have no idea about all those things, and they're just running Data Saturday with a heavy metal theme. They have also a nice teaser here, just a YouTube video. I just want to show you here the first few minutes, just to get an idea what they are trying to do here. So let's enjoy that one. This is Frank Geissler. As you can see, he has a guitar in the background. And it seems that they are doing a Skype call. That guy is Ben Kettler.
All good?
Yes, and you?
Oh, brilliant. You know why I called you?
No.
I have this great idea, this amazing, brilliant idea that I need to tell you about.
Yes, I have a question.
What?
Is the idea epic?
It's so epic, you won't believe it.
Okay.
I'm talking
Yes.
about a Data Saturday.
Data Saturday. Okay. What's epic about the Data Saturday?
Hang on, I have it all about it.
Okay.
It's a Data Saturday about metal.
Whoa, metal! Woo! That's an epic
Now,
idea.
listen what I've lined up
Yeah,
for this. I have this
yeah.
brilliant plan, and I'll tell you everything about it.
So a very interesting idea. There's also a call for metal speakers, and guess what? As I've said previously, I have no idea about heavy metal music, but I have already submitted a few sessions, and it would be really crazy if they choose me and I have to present there, because yeah, I don't really think that I'm fitting into that theme quite well, but let's see what happens. So if you're interested in a heavy metal Data Saturday, please check out that Data Saturday, which happens in September in Berlin. A few days ago, I have also announced 2 new SQLpassion live trainings that I will run in May and in June. So on May 16, I will run my SQL Server query tuning strategies training, where I mostly talk about index tuning strategies. As you can see, I'm talking here about search arguments, about bookmark lookup operations in SQL Server, one of my favorite topics because they introduce so many different performance problems. I'm also talking about the tipping point, which is also relevant in combination with lookup operations. I'm talking about index intersection, filtered indexes, and also indexed views. So a lot of different things regarding index tuning in SQL Server. In addition, I'm also talking in this live training about plan caching in SQL Server. As you know, every time when we execute a query in SQL Server generates us an execution plan, and that execution plan is cached for further reuse in the plan cache. And that reuse of execution plans can cause a lot of different performance problems. So in the first step, I want to give you an overview about the plan caching in SQL Server. Then we will move on and I will talk about parameter sniffing, which is a very common problem in combination with plan caching in SQL Server. I will also talk about recompilations and the query store, which was also introduced in a specific SQL Server version in the past. And on June 15, I'm running another SQLpassion live training about SQL Server availability groups, which is also one of my favorite topics in SQL Server, because with availability groups you can create very easily highly available SQL Server installations. So in the first part of that live training, I want to talk about general things about availability groups. So I give you a short introduction about availability groups. We talk about the installation, the whole configuration of availability groups. I will talk about the various availability modes that SQL Server supports here. So we talk here about synchronous commit, asynchronous commit. I will talk about the various failover modes, so automatic failovers, manual failovers, even manual failovers with a forced data loss. which is not really a recommended way to perform failovers, but in some specific scenarios it could make sense. And then I will also show you how you can work with availability groups in SQL Server. So we will talk about active secondaries. So with active secondaries you can perform a read workload on a secondary replica. So for example, you can run your analytics queries on active secondaries, you can perform database backups. I also talk about the quorum configuration, which is also very, very important for availability groups. We will talk about automatic seeding, with which you can add additional databases and additional replicas in a very easy and transparent way to availability groups. I also want to talk about load balancing and how you can troubleshoot and monitor everything. So if you're interested in those webinars, in those online trainings, just check out that link, and you can also then sign up on the individual course pages. So very, very recommended if you're interested in performance tuning or in high availability with SQL Server. Another very important thing that happened in the last week was the fact that I have upgraded our home internet connection. This was very, very important. We live in Vienna, a little bit outside of the city itself, so already in the green with garden and everything. We have built our house back in the year 2007, so already 16 years ago. But one major issue that we always had was the fact that we had a very slow internet connection. What does it mean to have a slow internet connection? Well, in our case, we had an internet connection with a maximum download speed of 30 megabits and with an upload speed of 5 megabits. Yes, you heard correctly. 30 megabits down, 5 megabits up. This is almost nothing these days anymore, and the problem is that we had just a normal phone line, and through that phone line more bandwidth was not possible. I've talked to several companies and each company just told me the same. More bandwidth is not possible, and of course you also can't change the existing cabling, because that would mean that they have to dig up the whole street and everything, and that would be a very, very expensive project. And therefore I have decided to use a mobile 5G connection. So as you can see in that picture, I have here an outdoor unit where you just insert a 5G mobile card from a mobile data provider. I'm using here one of the famous ones in Austria, A1 Telekom, and they provide us a 5G internet connection. As you can see, the whole router, this is a SQL, I hope I have pronounced that name correctly, a SQL, I think NR7101 unit. And the cool thing about that one is that it just needs one network cable, which provides the data transmission, and with that network cable it also gets power through a power over Ethernet adapter. So as you can see in the second picture, this is the only connection from the power outlet. So the yellow cable just goes to the outside router, and the gray cable just goes to my network equipment, which we have in the basement in our house. So this was quite easy to assemble, and as I've said, you have only a SIM card in that unit. It's somewhere here where you see that red light. That point in time it was just booting up when I have took that picture. Currently it's green, and as you can see when we find it, yeah, our bandwidth is now a little bit faster as previously, depending on the daytime. But on average, we are getting now around 200 to 300 megabits download speed, and the upload speed also changes somewhere between, let's say, 20 to 50, 60 megabits per second, depending on the load, depending on the daytime and everything. But I'm really, really amazed with that internet connection, because now we have a much better, a much faster bandwidth as previously, and trust me, my kids really appreciate that when they download new games for their Xbox gaming console. And even I, when I'm downloading things from Microsoft, when I'm uploading things to the internet, like that video to YouTube, I will also gain from that additional bandwidth. So this was a really, really nice improvement that I have done over the last few days. Earlier this day, I have also finished my half marathon preparations, because on Sunday I'm participating at the Vienna City Half Marathon. I have already done a few times in my life a half marathon, so this Sunday I'm running my 5th half marathon. I have already done 2 half marathons in Vienna, 2 half marathons in Graz in Styria, which is also in Austria. And I want to talk now a little bit more about the route that you are running in Vienna. As you can see from that overview, this is a really, really epic route through the heart of Vienna. As you can see, the half marathon itself starts at the UNO city, so the buildings where the United Nations are residing in Vienna. And in the first step, you are going, or you are running, it's the wrong term, you are running over the Reichsbrücke in Vienna, which is a very famous bridge, because that bridge collapsed back in the year 1976, already a very, very long time ago. And afterwards, you're going here down to the so-called Praterstern, which is a very famous leisure park in Vienna. And then you're going here down the so-called Prater Hauptallee, which is just a straight street. It's really, really straight. It goes down normally to the so-called Lusthaus, which is just a cafe where you can eat a coffee and so on. And for the half marathon, you're just going down here. And that Prater Hauptallee was also the area where the Ineos Challenge happened in the year 2019, where Eloid Kipchoge was running a whole marathon in less than 2 hours, in 1 hour, 59 minutes and 40 seconds. It's just amazing. This is not really an official world record, because everything was staged, so he had multiple pacemakers, the whole street was prepared, they had specialized cars and everything, and therefore it's not a real world record, because it was not an official race. But part of the half marathon is that Prater Hauptallee, where that Ineos Challenge has happened. Afterwards, we are going here up on the so-called Donau Canal. The Donau, the Danube, is the river that you can see here, and that canal is just a side arm of the Danube. So we are going here up till we reach here the so-called Urania. The Urania is a building in Vienna where they have telescopes with which you can look into the deep space. After we are passing here the Urania, you are passing the so-called Stadtpark, which is a very famous park in Vienna. After passing the Stadtpark, we are passing here the Opera of Vienna, and the opera is also very, very important because, as you might remember, some parts or some scenes of a Mission Impossible movie with Tom Cruise was filmed at that opera. So when we pass here the opera, here you have around 10 kilometers already running. You're going here down the so-called Naschmarkt, where you can buy various goods, sweets and everything. And then we are going here, or we are running in that case, to the west of Vienna till we reach Schönbrunn, where we also have a park and also so-called deer garden, animal garden, where you can watch various animals like elephants, tigers, fish, everything. So when we pass Schönbrunn, we are going here up to the Technical Museum, and that part here is very, very important, because with going up, I really mean going up. So here you're really going up, and the fastest runners are also decreasing here their speed, because when you're going up here with full speed, that will happen really, really terrible, because you can't do that. When we pass here the Technical Museum, we are running towards the train station called Westbahnhof, which is not used these days that much anymore, because most of the trains are starting and ending at the so-called Südbahnhof, which you have here, which is the main central station in Vienna. So when we have passed the Westbahnhof, we are going down here the so-called Maria-Hilfer-Straße, Maria-Hilfer Street, which is a famous shopping street in Vienna, where you find all the major labels and everything. And then we are coming here down at the Burggarten. This is the so-called ring in Vienna. So the ring is just a street which just crosses the inner district of Vienna. In September you also have a 5K race where you can also run across the ring. I have also done that last year. So we go here down to the Burggarten, then we enter the ring, and finally, for the last few meters, we are running here up until we reach here the so-called Rathaus, which is the finish line of the half marathon in Vienna. The great thing about the half marathon in Vienna is the fact, if you want, you can also run a full marathon distance, so the full 42.2 kilometers, means instead of finishing here at the Rathaus, you're just going here a little bit earlier, and then you're going here somewhere further into the city of Vienna, and then you're, I have no idea where, but somewhere you're going here down, and then you're going to the Prater again, and then you're running the whole Prater Hauptallee down to the Lusthaus, and from the Lusthaus you're going that route back to the finish line, which also is at the Rathaus in Vienna. So as you can see from that description, this is a really, really nice epic route that I have to do on Sunday. My goal is to finish the whole half marathon distance in less than 1 hour and 50 minutes. This is not really a best pace for me. My best pace is 1 hour and 44 minutes for the half marathon distance. But back in December I had problems with my left eye, and therefore I was not allowed to do any sports for 4 weeks. Just nothing. No running, no bicycling, just nothing, just doing nothing. Therefore my performance also has decreased a little bit, and now with my trainer which is a woman which has done triathlons in the past. I was able to gain performance again, and I hope that I can achieve a time with less than 1 hour and 50 minutes, but based on my whole preparations I think that will work. Okay, so thanks for watching my first SQLpassion Weekly Update. We will hear each other next week again, and then I will tell you how my half marathon worked out. So thanks for watching, stay tuned and enjoy the rest of the week. Thank you.